Once again I get to greet you. It's been quite a while. What a ride we've all been through.
What a good-looking panel, don't you think?
Fully agree.
We try.
we try very hard. Okay. All right, so no more job titles, and I'm going to ask you now to describe yourself without your job title. I'm kidding. Okay. Bryant, really. So we're going to start with him, the new kid on the travel block, right? So this guy was with GIC for 12 years, all right? For those outside Singapore, you don't know, GIC is the global long-term investor, which was established in 1981 to manage Singapore's foreign reserves. So basically, our money, right? He's very good at... And he was regional IT head for Asia. And then you joined Gardens by the Bay in Jan 2022 as director for digital transformation and IT. So why the move into Gardens by the Bay? Why the move into travel?
Yeah, it's a good question. Whenever I tell people I was going to move from a fintech company to a tourism, the most mild comment was, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, but that being said, right, I think the main reason is I'm actually following the footsteps of a close mentor I have. And what she tells me, a story she tells me is whenever you are in a place for 10 years, every 10 years you should try to get yourself out of the comfort zone and try to do something different, something that's more aligned to your purpose.
Right.
So technically I'm 2 years late, but who's counting, right? So I think the idea was this opportunity came about, and the purpose that I was pursuing is something that's a bit more closer to sustainability. I know it was said to be a very complicated word, but I thought gardens would be a much more closer fit to that purpose than GIC at that point.
And clearly in that last talk, we talked about how a career is no longer linear, right?
Yes.
And it was interesting too at the conversation with Sentosa Chia Sian, where he talked about how we also need to think about processes that need not be linear but circular as well. It's like it really needs a mindset change in all of us.
Exactly.
So talking about mindset change, let's go to business because Baidi is all about business. So what is your outlook for the next 12 months?
Yeah, thank you, Siew.
It's lots of good news coming.
I'm looking too serious right now. Yeah, but thank you for having me here. So for the folks who don't know Go City, so Go City is the world's largest multi-attraction city pass company globally. And so for us, we are pretty fortunate because we're running globally. So we have witnessed the recovery starting from the US onto EMEA, now it's really APAC. APAC is really exploding as we're exiting the pandemic, right? And we started to see, like everyone was talking about the hotels and airlines seeing the pent-up demand. Same for us. And I truly believe now we're entering the renaissance of in-destination experiences. And I'm extremely excited about this. And every time we see a new country reopen, and our visitation skyrockets. And but I guess we have to pay a little bit more attention into the whole microeconomic situation. It's been still very volatile, right? And we're seeing like a lot of people talk about inflation is real, and US dollars is also trading very strongly in the last quarter century, and respectively the euros and Japanese yen being really weak. So that does change how people look when they're planning for the next destination to visit. It shifts people's priorities. Right. So I do think this opportunity for us as APAC region and to be prepared to have more inbound, more long-haul travelers coming from the US, coming to the APAC region.
All right.
And we're also seeing people really planning for the trips a lot more further in advance based on our data. For example, in the past, when people sign up a newsletter, and 1 week later, they will make a purchase. But now it takes them 6 weeks. So they do spend time to do the research.
All right, so more booking. So basically, Bryant has joined the industry at a good time because we're seeing renaissance. and in tech, we're seeing a revolution. So you're actually at the convergence of those 2 points. So it's a great time to be in the business. So CC, you're more on the B2B side of the business, and your customers must be happy again, right? I mean, whether it's Indonesia or whatever, what trends are they seeing?
Well, they are definitely happy. But to put things in context, I was in F1, right? So we were having a bunch of Asians and there's a European there. So we said, oh, business is good. So how good? We said, oh, 30%, 50%, 60%. And the Europeans like, what? You're only doing 50% pre-COVID. But I think things are really picking up significantly. I think year-end is going to be great. So to put things, again, 3 trends that personally I observe, right? And I think it's quite similar globally. E-tickets is definitely the way to go, right? Everybody is now buying online, right? So if you look at Universal Studio today, there are 20 counters outside, but half of it is gone, is completely gone. The other half becomes self-help kiosks, right? So when more people buy online, that means opportunities for us to actually tap on it. The second observation, actually rather surprising to me, but maybe not to some of you, is that we are seeing that the traditional agents' numbers are actually also picking up. Very, very surprising to me. Not huge groups, but they're coming in small groups of 7, 8, 9. So perhaps the families or the bigger family groups are still looking for hassle-free travel. So that is another trend that we are seeing in my booking numbers. The third trend that we are seeing is that the hidden gems, the not so popular products it used to be, is starting to trend upwards. I think part of the reason is that the stay is getting longer and longer, right? So other than the run-of-mill of Universal Studio or Waterbomb Bali, people are now looking for unique things to experience, and that's what I think people bring home and talk about. So these 3 trends that what we are seeing: unique things, smaller family groups, and everyone is buying online.
Right, and maybe it's easier for people to find unique things too, right? Because it become much more discoverable. Maybe.
Yes, all thanks to people like Klook, KKday, Traveloka, really bring all
and
these things
City.
up. And Go City.
Oh, thank you.
and Lou, I mean, you know, for Lou, he's based in Tokyo, so
Yes.
so we're so glad to see you. You know,
Thank
we
you.
are so happy. We want to go back to Japan. I know that, but
Yes.
it must have been really tough for you, right? During the pandemic, because Take Me, for those you don't know, like he was primarily focused on Chinese traveling to Japan, and who knows when they will return. And you really made it easy for them to find restaurants and pay. That was
Yep.
your market, right? But you know, during pandemic, I heard you double down on tech, digitized restaurants, and FB experience. But tell us about the pain you went through,
Okay.
and the progress that you've made to be sitting here on this stage
Okay.
with us today.
I needed an hour.
No, you got 30 seconds.
But I think, yeah, you know, there's definitely a lot of pain, right? The travel industry just got hit a lot, and we lost 95% of our revenue in merely 2 months. And you know, we have to cut everything. So we don't want to, you know, explain too much, but it's really painful experience for us, and I believe a lot of the, you know, people in the travel industry. But what we really look down at ourselves is like, what is our asset, right? We have accumulated since 2016. We were Japan foodie, we're in the business. And the second thing is like, what are the need and the pains of our clients, like the restaurants and the merchants in Japan? And then take this too, and the third thing is like, what can we really do to them? Because they're in pain as well, right? So we talked a lot about digital transformation today. So what we essentially did was take our client base. We had about 30,000 restaurants back in Japan, and then they need contactless menu. They need order. They rely. A lot of restaurants start, you know, moving from analog to digital, but they don't have any sort of, you know, providers, to provide them one-stop solution. So we became the Shopify for the restaurants. We created them, you know, a system for them to create their own online channel. We manage, we aggregate all the third-party delivery platforms, and then we have the digital payments all built in. So it's all very natural evolve of our, I wouldn't say a pivot, it's just like, we're just trying to do what we can.
Right. So you help the customers who are in similar pain, but you really sort of help them prepare for right now that travel is going to return.
Yes.
They're going to be ready for the demand. Okay. So you know, food. I mean, one of the reasons why we love Ludong's business was it was called Japan Foodie, and we loved Japanese food, right? And food is a big part of why we travel. But you know, in Gardens by the Bay, it's also got great food, by the way, right? But in your LinkedIn profile, I was interested, you say you're working in Singapore's most Instagrammable location to inspire sustainable change through the use of technology. Very big words, all right? But what 3 tech trends are you most excited about in helping you fulfill this mission?
Okay, if I were to pick 3, maybe the first one I'll pick is really the proliferation of data. Right, I think it was picked up by some of the earlier speakers also. So I mean that in two specific areas. So one of them in the area of probably customer experience, and by that I don't mean that we collect all the personal and private data of people, in case people are worried. We capture kind of demographics data, right? So I think traditionally, whenever we did any form of kind of like marketing or advertising to people, it's kind of like one size fits all. But then we learned that actually our customer base have very diverse and very unique needs. So by just creating a simple demographic breakdown of some of the customers, we're actually able to then partner with some of the various, like you said, the food providers, the restaurants. Certain groups like to visit, let's say, the Chinese restaurant at Gardens. So we would then actually package all these things together and then start pushing out things like, look, we noticed you're at the Gardens. Do you want to have a 10% coupon to visit the Chinese restaurant?
Okay.
Right, so that's for the customer experience side. I think the other area that is getting a lot more traction now is in the operational tech side of the house, and that is more of really the plants and the trees and everything in Gardens, right? So I think traditionally, just to give a simple example, right, we have an irrigation system that actually waters the plants at fixed intervals every day. So on some days where you see it's raining, it's pouring outside, like right now, for example, the sprinklers will still be coming on. Then you look at it and you ask yourself, why should we be spraying water at plants, right?
Yeah.
Right, so I think with the proliferation of IoT, right, we are then now able to actually put sensors in a lot of different things, and the amount of data we can collect now is actually enormous compared to yesteryears. So I think that actually gives us a lot more insights and helps us to make better decisions and ideally be more sustainable in the way we operate.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were also interested in sort of, the augmented reality, digital twin, maybe even the metaverse, right?
Yes.
Because an attraction like yours is kind of made for that. Are you looking into that direction as well?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, so from our perspective, I think the future of tourism is phygital. So it's a mixture of physical and virtual experiences, right? So the idea of AR and VR actually is very appealing to Gardens, like you rightly mentioned. Because I think besides of the physical flowers, I think it gives us a lot of opportunities to venture into things like the metaverse, virtual tours, right? So especially during COVID, I mean, when we think of our customers, right, we don't just think of them as just coming to the Gardens. I mean, we want to actually start to actually collect the mindshare even before they visit, right? So for example, people who are thinking of visiting Singapore, how do we let them think that Gardens is the place to visit, right? So it's through things like AR, VR, the metaverse. We want to create experiences for people to actually have a sneak preview of the Gardens. Yeah,
Right.
so that's an area we're really interested in looking at right now.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm interested in the intersection of art, tech, and travel, right? And we heard from Jintara and Lily
Yes.
how artists can actually come in and then use technology and then change a perception of the space, right?
Yes.
And so I wanted to ask you, like, I went on a tour during the Singapore Night Festival. There were two pop artists, Inch Chua and Tommy, right? And basically, you listen to the tour on your headphones, and they created this narrative, and then they had live performances mixed in between. So it's kind of changed the idea of tours, right? What is the tech innovation that you think will revolutionize the in-destination experience? Let's start with you, Baidi.
Start with Lou first.
Okay, Lou. Okay, Lou.
Well, everybody knows Pokemon, right? Pokemon Go.
Yeah, Pokemon. Yeah.
I think that's going to be the future of travel. So it's basically, people call it metaverse, whatever, but I think these are all new terms talking about like avatar. But basically, I think you literally travel in a virtual and merges with the real world and discover the treasures in this world that you don't not yet know. And it's
So augmented
online,
reality.
yes,
basically.
but
Okay.
can be the combination of all these together, but basically help you guide you through and find the real world treasures that fit you. So
Okay.
yeah, live like a local.
Cici?
Mine is a little bit simpler, but it's about storytelling tech, right? Exactly what you said, that the Cinewave technology, the ability to transform any open space, lobby, and straight to become a cinema with the earbud in your ears. That's amazing. And I look at many of our attractions, they're still using information card. And if it's not information card, what they thought is that, oh, I'm just going to put a QR code there. After you scan the QR code, it's still your information card at the end of the day, right? But there's so much technology now to bring it a lot more immersive, like short throw projectors and things like that. Very immersive, very hands-on. So there are many of these technology out there if you go to IAPA to actually bring the experience of customer up very, very significantly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually addresses the issue of sustainability, right? I mean, because like, who needs another giant theme park in Bali? I mean, we keep building all these huge attractions, then maybe there's so much more that we can actually do that's already with what's there already, and just rethinking it in a new way. Baidi, it's your turn.
Yeah, I actually have many, so I'm trying to like prioritize which one I should talk about, knowing we have only half time left. I think so. One for me personally is actually live streaming. Not live stream selling, but it's more of incorporate live streaming as part of the in-destination experience. I can share one example. It's very close to my heart. You know, I lost my father earlier this year, and my father and my mom, their biggest dream is to go to Paris with me. So I did manage to go to Paris in April this year, and when I was visiting Louvre or Montmartre or doing all the amazing food experiences, I actually managed to call my mom, live stream my whole experience on tour, off tour, when I'm just having the gelato, whatever. Like, she was there with me. So I really feel like that's, as part of the experience, it's not just about how I feel, it's also about the people I want to travel with and how they can just kind of enjoy that experience, that moment with me. So if any business can incorporate that as part of the on-tour experience or in-destination experience, I think it will be definitely elevating the overall experience. The second one is, I think as a business perspective, is more of a social commerce, but this is not a new topic. And for us as a business, we started experimenting with it. We really find it's very easy for us as a brand to really interact and communicate with our direct consumers. And a lot of the content we've been posted like 3 years ago, being resurfaced. A lot of new contents we posted around like COVID restrictions, border reopenings, what are the top things to do within a city, always being like pushed up, and the algorithm really worked. I think one of the app is really prominent. It's called Red. I don't know how many people heard about Red or Xiaohongshu in this crowd. It's huge. It revolutionized how people really like travel in general.
Okay, so actually, you know, come to the next question I was going to ask you is about customer acquisition, right? And how different it is now pre versus post-pandemic. And you would say that social commerce is
social commerce is a big thing. But I think we as a business, right, we're quite fortunate because our value proposition is about, you know, providing this best value for the customers whenever they go to a top destination, right? So our bread and butter, our demographic is the value-seeking planners. So now we never found it difficult to communicate our value proposition to the direct consumers, but now we are quite fortunate because of more people are more like budget conscious. So we found it even easier to like kind of convert our top of the funnel customers. And then we start looking at the lower funnel and also the repeat customers we're actually investing a lot in. We're really hoping to like encourage the customers to keep like traveling with us. And we focus a lot on like, you know, the lifetime customer value and, you know, to making sure our NPS score across industry is way above average. So that's been very helpful.
Okay. Cici, I know you've been keeping an eye on digital payments, especially for attractions. How is this trend transforming the process and business flow for your attraction clients? Are they really getting onto it?
Oh yes, I think in Asia, payments is huge. It's really, really huge, right? COVID is like a steroid to digital wallets in Asia. So if you go to Malaysia now, everybody doesn't want to touch cash, so they use Touch and Go, Gcash in Philippines, and digital wallets is so huge that if your website doesn't accept credit cards, it's going to pose, I mean, if your website only accepts credit card, it's going to pose a problem in times to come. Because I think in Asia, we are going to bypass the credit card era. Seriously, we're going to bypass the credit card era. And when we first deploy the payments to the attractions, from day one, the pickup for digital wallets is about 40% immediately on day one that we introduced it, right? And it translates to saving for our operators, right? Because credit card, you pay about 3%. If it's digital wallets, it's between 2% to 1%. So immediately you have saving. But I think what is more interesting that every single operator that we deploy, their conversion, their online conversion all went up. So I deduce that perhaps there are people serving a website that actually have no credit card and they couldn't buy. But now with digital wallets,
you gave them an option.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's about still giving the options back to the consumers at the end of the day.
And Lou, in Japan, it used to be all about, it was even difficult for us to be paid by credit card when you went to a Japanese restaurant, right? So how is it different now, sort of post-pandemic? And I mean, especially the exclusive restaurants in the past, you used to have to book 3 months in advance, right?
Yes.
How are they working with you now in
Sure.
your payment system?
So first about payment. So when we started business 6 years ago, there was no QR code payment in Japan. So our job is to bring like WeChat Pay, Alipay into Japan and make sure it's payable. But right now, after the pandemic, QR code payment, there are about 400 to 500 QR code apps in Japan, right? So 400 e-wallets, and each e-wallet has its own QR code, right? So and QR code payment became the fastest, growing payment method in Japan. Is like growing at 40% year on year, and is only next to credit card right now. So QR code is the thing, it's the biggest thing right now. All right, so second thing about the 3-month waiting list restaurant. So I'll give an example. Digital transformation is very big in Japan. So we have a client, is Sushi, Midori, is very famous, right? They have an hour and a half line out of it. It's 50 years of history. It used to be very, very traditional, really conservative. But now, after the pandemic, or even right now, right, they're like, if you call them, they're like, okay, thank you for your phone call. We know your number. We're going to send you an SMS. They're not going to receive any phone calls for reservation or order. They're going to send you an SMS. You click on it. It goes to an online ordering or reservation page. So a 50-year-old, very conservative sushi restaurant completely converted digital and cashless, digital order, digital reservation.
Wow.
So I think pandemic really pushed the Japanese restaurants to move into the digital era.
Right.
Yeah.
And Brian, are you seeing such dramatic change in customer behavior on GBB? I mean, you're seeing more online bookings, more advanced bookings on your side?
So it's interesting. I think I'm an anomaly in your statistic, because I think for gardens, right, we still see a lot of walk-in customers, and they form majority of actually the ticketing on site, and this includes both locals and the FIT, the free and independent travelers. Right? And when we do a straw poll of why they do that, they say it's because they cannot see the product. So they say we must see the product before we buy the tickets. So I thought that was a very interesting viewpoint. And I think that's why we also want to start doing more engagement pre-visit. And that's why some of these things like AR and VR will come into play.
Or do you think maybe it's because your website might be difficult to use?
Could be. I'm not denying that. Yes.
I'm sorry.
There are always room for improvements.
And I know that you're replacing your booking system, right? I mean, you're looking at omni-channel.
Omni-channel,
right?
that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. But I think one thing I wanted to add is, but this is more similar to what you mentioned, right? We do see the traveling groups getting smaller and smaller, right? And I think intuitively it kind of makes sense, right? Because the more people or the more strangers you travel with, your travel bubble becomes bigger. And then you have to rely on a lot more people to actually be safe in the things they do, right? Especially in the pandemic era. So I think the future sounds like it's going to be like smaller groups in larger numbers.
Smaller group. Yeah. So actually, it was interesting that Jong-Yoon in his talk, when he compared industries and percentage that went into R&D, like travel was right at the bottom. Travel and hospitality was 2% of revenues that went into R&D, right? What would be the number at GBB?
Okay, it's not an exact number. The ballpark would be about 5%. Okay. Yeah, that's how much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to Ludong. It's not just about food now, apparently. He's pivoting, or should we say extending or evolving into tours and activities. And you're also doing this Tokyo Ebisuya rickshaw.
Okay. Yes.
See? So isn't restaurants hard enough? Because it's so fragmented. So aren't you going to be in danger of diluting your business?
Yeah. So we had like before pandemic, we had two business unit. I would say one is the restaurant reservation. The other side was digital payment. Right. We're the QR code of the square. Right in Japan. So like Ebisuya or tours and activities, they were just our payment clients. And so we supply our clients of whatever they need that we can create value for them, right? So, yeah, everybody needs payment. So that's why we're in activities, we're in restaurants and hotels. But in terms of a more sophisticated payment product, we need know-how. We need to understand the operation and flow, so we can, design our products better for them. So, payment, we're literally everywhere. Yeah, in Japan. Yeah.
All right, so we have 5 minutes left. I'm going to go very quickly into your own customer behavior and how that's changed because of the pandemic, right? So what's the most interesting in-destination experience you've had since you started traveling? Let's go with you. Other than live streaming with your mother, which is such a sweet story.
Okay. So for me, I think it's really the recent road trip I took to the US. So during one of the term breaks, I took my whole family to have a road trip to the Yellowstones. And obviously, I took advantage of the whole work from anywhere benefits from Go City. So I enjoyed it. I spent 5 days in San Francisco, really got my work done, and hit the road. And then as soon as I hit the road, there was a flood in Yellowstone. I don't know if you guys heard about it. So my whole plan was ruined. But in the normal days, I'll be so frustrated and didn't know what to do. But I think coming out of pandemic, I learned to be a lot more adaptable and just really go with the flow and really not challenging the mother nature and just live with it and make the best out of the situation. So instead, I detoured to Moab, which is in the southern part, and actually really just relax, take my days and just doing the barbecue, fishing, and ate so many s'mores. And then it did open at the end, so that was a bonus.
Okay, so you go with the flood rather than go with the flow.
Flood. I like it. Thank you.
Ryan, what about you?
Okay, so I actually haven't traveled very far in a long time, but if I were to recount a very memorable experience from that perspective, is my last trip to Abu Dhabi, right? I am actually a theme park fanatic, fan. I love theme parks, right?
Oh, you love theme parks.
So I went to this one called, I think it was DC World. So it was this theme park where I went in, they said that there's a lot of roller coasters, there's a lot of exciting rides, but actually 80% of the rides, it turns out when I wrote in it, they're all actually immersive rides. So they're roller coasters, but they're not really roller coasters.
Oh wow, that sounds very safe.
Yeah, you won't feel very safe when you're taking the ride.
Wow,
but
okay.
it actually opened my eyes to say that this immersive technology thing is actually real. It's not something that is something that we imagine, or it's not going to replace the real experience. So I think that was eye-opening for me.
Okay. Cici?
I spent 10 days in Perth, and some of them call me crazy for spending 10 days in Perth, but I'm a little bit more like Baidi. I really took things easy and spent a whole day in Kings Park. Every night I'm half drunk. But I think the key is that I think ecotourism is going to be huge because people are all shifting to city.
Yeah.
So I think the demand for actually ecotourism products are really up there.
Slower travel, more nature-based.
Slow down travel and just.
Okay, Lou, do you have a experience you want to share? Or you haven't been able to travel outside Japan, but maybe in Japan?
Yeah, well, I just recently to US and Japan. But I think our family really traveled actually more within Japan than before pandemic. So Hakuba, this is a really good experience in Nagano. It used to be Winter Olympic. So in October, before the snow season comes, it's really cheap. So we're in a big Airbnb house. So the view of Hakuba is you have green at the bottom, you have yellow and red leaves in the middle, you have white snow in the top, so it's just really spectacular view. And you can take a lift to the snowy mountain at the top, and they have a room you can do workation there.
Wow, okay.
That was my plan, but after I went there, I was like, there's really no point to work here. And so with my family, we just did it's hard to workation,
So it's work from anywhere. Actually, don't work from anywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I need you guys to cooperate with me, and we rush through this list of answers. Right? Name one thing that you'd like to fix in travel if you're really to change things up on the ground for our customers. So let's go with CC. What's the one thing you want to fix?
Connectivity. Long-tail operators able to come on board and provide a fantastic experience for customers.
All right. Bryant?
I would say make tech, use tech to actually enable seamless visitor experience.
Okay.
Yep.
Baidi? Quickly.
The labor crunch.
Yeah,
make our industry a lot more appealing.
Lou?
Yeah, I would say still payment, still a big pain point. Even the same credit card you can use here and there, so just universal. Yeah.
Okay, so I gave these guys some homework, and I asked them to imagine what the destination experience would look like in 5 years. And here's the homework. So let's go with Bryant. This is Bryant's
Right.
top. Yeah.
Okay, so I know I keep repeating this word, but I think the future of tourism is really phygital, right? So when visitors visit any tourist experience, it's no longer like a nice to have, but it's almost a need to have. It's not just about the physical experience, it's also about the digital elements of the experience.
Wow.
Okay, and Lu gave me this.
Wow, this is sorry.
You can tell he's in payments. He's in payments, and he's all about numbers. Okay, sorry.
All right, forget out. So
Very
I would just
quickly,
imagine
please,
in the
Lou.
ideal world, wherever I go as a tourist, I can just live like a local. There's no difference in information, in language, and accessibility. Just living a freedom
I like that.
world and live like a local wherever I go. I think that's just a dream.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, and Baidi gave this. Baidi.
Yeah, I reach out to my kids and ask them to draw a picture. They refuse to coordinate. So I went to my best friend, which is artificial intelligence. So this platform, you can basically key in a few prompts and also give them an art style. They come up with this picture about future in destination travel.
Right. So what were the keywords you used for that future in destination?
So I put in future destination experience happy.
All right.
And
But-
also the style is retro futuristic.
All right, but it looks like global warming has definitely arrived. Okay, all right, so
No, actually, I wrote a whole love letter.
okay,
but
no,
I don't
no,
have
no.
time today.
Yes, okay,
I'll show you.
We'll share that later. Okay, and last but not least, let's go to CC. CC, slave labor. Okay.
So
Yeah.
your son coordinating.
I forced my kid to draw. I said, what do you want to see in the future, right? So my kid drew. He wanted to go to the sea, and he wanted to see the mermaid, and he wanted to go in to see the castle. But again, I think city dwellers, at the end of the day, even a kid as young as that, still wants to go back to nature and connect to nature. So I really do think that ecotourism is going to be up.
Fantastic. I love the mermaid, by the way. So, thank you, Lou, CC, Bryant, and Baidi. Thank you for that. That was fun. Thank you.